Good morning, students. I hope all are doing well. Good morning to your chapter 9. And the topic is we know that strategies for enhancement in food production. And we have finished almost all the topics except a few topics have been left out. Today we are going to complete this chapter. So we were discussing about the animal breeding. We have discussed about the plant breeding technologies and the disease resistance, then quality of the food material, then insect pests. So today we are going to discuss about the biofortification, the single cell protein and the tissue culture methods, how we can raise a plant by using the tissue culture method. Okay, so these are the three main topics that we are going to discuss. I hope all of you are doing well. Stay home and stay safe. So let's go come to the topic. That is the first topic is about the biofortification. Okay, so the first topic that we are going to discuss today is about biofortification. So what is biofortification and what is the need of doing biofortification? So the word bio stands for the living things and the fortification means the increase in the amount. So what we have to increase in the amount, that we have to increase the nutrient level in whatever products we are making, like the protein content, oil content, vitamin, micronutrients and the macronutrients. Okay, so these contents has to be increased in the production. So like if you are going to any supermarket and if you see the rates of the different pulses and rices, we can see that there are a lots of variation in the rates. So the average level people, they cannot afford the high price quality foods, and the other people, those who can afford, they can buy that. So what is the product of that? Yeah, what is the outcome of that? The other people, some grades of the people, they are enjoying all kinds of this products, and some grades of the people, they are not able to buy it. And if they are not able to buy it, the protein content and the vitamin content and even macronutrients, everything will be less in their food product, and they can suffer from malnutrition. So to overcome this malnutrition product, we are undertaking a process of biofortification. So what is biofortification? That is our question. So let's see what is the definition of biofortification. Biofortification, it is a process of developing the crops with higher level of vitamins, minerals, proteins and even healthier fats. And we have the objectives of biofortification here: protein content, oil content, then vitamin content, then micronutrient and the mineral content. All these contents has to be increased in the production level. Okay, and there is an example given here, that is an Atlas 66. It's a wheat variety and they have been produced by biofortification method and they contain high protein content. Clear? And the another one, that is the rice. The rice varieties is there and we have produced rice variety by biofortification and we increase the iron content of the rice. So this is the advantage of this method, that everyone can afford and everyone will get the proper amount of nutrients in their diet. Otherwise, only one level of the people will get the advantage and other level will not get the advantage. Okay, so that is the advantage of this method called the biofortification. So here it's given high yielding crop varieties plus we are hybriding high nutrient crop variety and we are getting the product as biofortified food crops. I think it's clear for you. High yielding crop variety. What do you mean by high yielding? The yield will be more. And another one, the high nutrient crop varieties. Okay, and you are getting the biofortified food crops. Might be we have to go to all the plant breeding steps again, that we are selecting from the germplasm, then we are testing, then we are cross hybridization, then again we are testing and then commercializing the biofortified food crops. Clear? So this is called as a biofortification, and biofortification can eradicate the malnutrition to a extent. Okay. Now, what are the different vegetable crops that has been biofortified? So the first one is vitamin A, that is carrots. We have produced the biofortified carrots, spinach and the pumpkin, that is rich of vitamin A. And the next one, vitamin C. So vitamin C enrich what all things we have been produced: bitter gourd, batua, mustard, then tomato, then okay, and then iron and calcium rich spinach and batua, and the protein enriched, that is the beans mainly, which are the different types of beans we are having: broad lab, French beans, and the garden peas. Okay, so these are some of the examples of the vegetable crops that has been bio-fortified, and these works have been mainly done in the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, IARI. Okay, so the main motto, yeah, the main aim at the back of these production is that to avoid the malnutrition. So this is a method of biofortification. You can see the pictures here. That is, this is a traditional fortification method, and this is the biofortification, that is selective breeding, plant producing low level of nutrients. They are taking into genetic modification, and plant that select those with higher nutrient level. They are inserting the gene to increase the plant production, and finally the plant produce is containing high level of the nutrients. Now, the next concept that we have to discuss today is about the single cell protein. Might be you people have learned about this in the previous chapters also. That is single cell protein. What do you mean by the single cell protein? Single cell protein means we are extracting or we are converting some organisms so that they can produce the proteins, SCP. And this single cell protein we can extract from the different organisms like algae, fungi, yeast, and the bacteria. And the advantage of this method is that the production method is that we can use the low cost substrate to produce this kind of microorganism, because we know that microorganisms needs a medium to grow. So if that medium is of low cost, then the method of the production will be more economic. And the single cell protein, what the name itself is clear, single cell, and what it contains, it contains the protein, and they contain high level of protein and they contain low level of fat. So it is very good resource, yeah, it is a good diet for the human beings. And another thing is that the single cell protein, when we start the use of single cell protein, it can reduce the dependence on the agricultural system, and even this can reduce the level of pollution. So these are some of the advantages of the single cell protein. Now let's see what all things have been given here. So what is a single cell protein? They are the proteins that has been extracted from the algae, from fungi, from yeast, and even from the bacteria. And what is the advantage of producing them? They can be grown on a low cost substrate. Clear? And what it contains? Of course, it contains the high quality protein, and it is fat content is very low. And they reduce, what is the advantage? Another advantage is that they reduce the pressure on the agricultural production for the supply of proteins, and even it can reduce the environmental pollution. So you have to learn these points, that what is a single cell protein and how we can produce a single cell protein, and what is the advantage of the production of the single cell proteins. Now some examples have been given here. This is an example of the spirulina. You can see here I have given the picture of a spirulina. What is that actually? It's our tablets, okay? And they are actually acting as the food supplement. So if we are taking this spirulina, that contains mainly the protein. So it can fulfill the protein diet mainly, and even amount of minerals, fats, carbohydrates, and even the vitamins. Clear? Now, what is the advantage of the spirulina? They can grow on the low cost substrate like molasses, the potato processing waste material, then animal manure, and even sewage. These are all waste materials for us, and we are taking that waste material to grow the spirulina. So is it an economical method? Yes. That is an economical method of producing the spirulina. And this spirulina can have a lot and lot of proteins, mainly the protein, and it contains even the minerals, fats, carbohydrate, and the vitamins. Okay, so it's given here like how it can be grown. It can be grown on the wastewater from potato processing plants, then the straw, then molasses, then on the animal manure, then even on the sewage. Okay, so that is why this spirulina we can produce in a large amount, and the rate of the production is very low, and it is in the form of tablets. Okay, and people who are going for diet, people who are going for in the as astronomers in the spacecraft and all, they can't use the proper food material. So what they have to take this kind of tablets so that their protein content, their carbohydrate, their vitamins and the minerals need of the body can be satisfied. Now, one example has been given, it's just a comparison. Okay, like 250 kilogram of a cow, they can produce only 200 gram of protein. Okay, but a microorganism called as Methylophilus methylotrophus, because of their higher rate of production and the growth, they can produce 25 tons of the protein. So compare these two things. One is 250 kilogram and it is only 250 gram. So 250 gram of a microorganism, they can produce 25 tons of protein. Is it amazing? Yes. And 250 kilogram of a cow that can produce only 200 gram of protein. So which one is better? That is growing a Methylophilus methylotrophus. Okay, so this is that bacteria, that is Methylophilus methylotrophus, and because of its high rate of biomass production, they can produce 25 tons of protein. So which one is better for us, growing a cow or growing Methylophilus methylotrophus? Of course it is growing Methylophilus methylotrophus. You can compare. Okay, it's nothing like that one is superior, it's nothing like that. But 250 kilogram of a cow, they can produce only 200 gram of protein. And this cow, it has to be reared in a proper way, it has to be given proper feed, then only they produce the milk, the meat and everything. But this one, they can grown in any of the low production, yeah, low cost substrate, and they are producing a very high amount of the protein. I think it's clear what is single cell protein, what are the advantages of single cell protein, and what is spirulina, and what is this bacteria useful for, that is Methylophilus methylotrophus. And the last topic that is in your book of NCERT book is the tissue culture. This word is familiar for us, what is tissue culture, but we have to see what are the exact terms that we are using here. So what do you mean by the word tissue culture? The tissue culture, what you are culturing, you are culturing a cell, yeah, you are culturing a tissue, or you are culturing an organ, and finally what you are getting a complete organism, and all these things we have to do in the laboratory condition. You know what is a laboratory condition? That is a sterile condition in which we are applying everything artificially. The nutrient medium we have to give, and it should be sterile. That is the most important thing. If any other contamination happens, then you cannot grow that tissue. Okay, so that is the definition of the tissue culture. Let's see here what is a tissue culture method. So it is a technique of culturing the cells into tissues, then into organs or into an organism in a cultural medium under the laboratory condition. So this is a proper definition of a tissue culture, that we are culturing the cells or the tissues that is taken from the plants. Okay, and it will be developed later on into tissues. First it will develop into tissue, then into organ, then into the organism. And how these can develop into a full organism? Because these cells have the ability of totipotency. Now tell me, what is totipotency? When in 10th standard, I think you have learned about regeneration and all. So that is that mechanism we are discussing here. That is totipotency. That is the ability of a single cell. What we have taken here, we have taken one single cell to develop into tissue or organ or an individual is called as the totipotency. Otherwise, you can say that the ability of a cell to regenerate the whole body of an organism, that is called as the totipotency. So again, I am telling what is totipotency. The ability of a single cell to develop into the tissues, organs and a complete organism, that is called as a totipotency. So we are utilizing this ability of the cell in the tissue culture. The totipotency of the plant cells are more than the animal cell. That is another point that we have to see. So it's easy for having the tissue culture of the plants, because the totipotency of the plant cells have the more totipotency capacity than that of the animal. Now, the next one is micropropagation. That is, by using this tissue culture method, we are producing thousands and thousands of the plants at one time. And that is called as a micropropagation. Propagation, you know the word meaning. And micro, because why we are using the word micro? Because we are taking a cell. Okay, we are taking a single cell. So, we are using the word micropropagation. And since from this cell we can propagate a large number of the plants, then you will call it as a micropropagation. And what about the product of this micropropagation? They are genetically similar to their parent plant. Okay, we have learned about clone and cloning method. So what is the product of a clone? It will be genetically similar. Morphologically, of course, it will be similar only, but it is genetically similar. So morphologically and genetically similar clones will be obtaining. And such clones you will call the word as a soma clones. Soma means somatic cell. Any cells other than the reproductive cells are called as somatic structure. Okay, so it has been developed from the non-reproductive part, so we are calling it as the somatic, and they are clones because they are genetically and morphologically similar to the parent plant, and they are called as the soma clones. I think these words are clear. So first one is tissue culture, then the ability to produce the full organism from a single cell, you will call it as totipotency, and micropropagation because from a single plant or the single cell we are producing the thousands of the plants through tissue culture. So you are calling it as the micropropagation, and the product that obtained is called as the soma clones because again we have obtained from the somatic structure. So we are calling it as soma, and clones means whatever we are obtained is genetically and morphologically similar to their parents. I think it's clear the main words that we are discussing in tissue cultures. Now you can see the picture here. These are the pictures. So here we can see they are taking a plate, and this plate contains the nutrient medium, and they are transferred some of the explants here. Okay, they are transferred some of the cells here. It started growing in this plate. Again, it started growing to more length. And here you can say that the plantlets have been taken out. And here the complete plant is developing. Here also. And finally, these plantlets have been transferred into the environment, that is to a potted plant. So can you see from a single cells, we are making a lot of plants by using the property of totipotency. No, whatever plants that we obtain, this method is called as a micropropagation, and this product you will call it as soma clones. And here you can see in this bottle also you can see a lots and lots of plants have been developed here, and this is the tissue culture method. Then some of the more words that we are using, explant. Like we told that we are using any part of the plant, like a cell or the tissue that we are using. And that cell or tissue normally we call the word as the explant. Okay. And usually parenchyma tissues of the stem or the root is used as the explant. I'll show you one video, then it will be more clear for you. Like normally we know that there are lots of tissues like parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, and we normally take as an explant is the parenchyma tissue, and that has been taken from a stem or the root. Clear? Now, the undifferentiated. Now, next word that we have to study is about a callus. What is a callus? The undifferentiated and unorganized. These two words has to be clear. Undifferentiated because it is not differentiated now. And unorganized mass of the cells that is developed by the explants during tissue culture is called as the callus. So, first one, this is an explant. Okay, we are taking a single cell or we are taking a tissue. So this is an explant. Now after applying this nutrient medium, what will happen to this explant? This will divide. Okay, it will divide into a mass of the cells. I am drawing here a mass of the cells, and this mass of the cells are undifferentiated. Okay, there are no differentiation here like this is xylem, this is phloem, yeah, this is the stem, this is the root, nothing is there. It just started dividing and you are getting an undifferentiated mass of the cells. And this undifferentiated mass of the cells are called as the callus. I think it's clear. So explant, we are taking any cell or the tissue, and when this explant gets divided, it forms an unorganized mass or undifferentiated mass that is called as the callus. So the further development will take place from the callus. And already we told the plants that has been developed through micropropagation, they have been taken from a single explant, then it will all look similar genetically as well as morphologically. So they are called as the soma clones. So what is a soma clone? The plants developed from the tissue culture are genetically identical to the plant from which the explant was taken. So from wherever we have taken the explant, so and how many explants we have taken, all these plants that has been developed will be genetically similar to their parent plant. So they are called as the soma clones. Now, we told that if you have to grow this tissue, if we have to grow this explant, what all things we have required for having the nutrient medium? It should have the distilled water, some inorganic salts, the vitamins should be included, the amino acids, then some of the growth hormones and the sucrose, and the most important thing, the agar. Okay, so these are the combo. You have to learn this. Like we are making a petri plate in which we are adding all these things, and in this is a medium, nutrient medium, in which this explants can be grown into callus, and this callus can be differentiated into the proper plant, and they are called as the soma clones because they have been taken from a single parent. Okay, so you can go through this. What are the different components that have been used in the tissue culture nutrient medium? Distilled water, inorganic salts, vitamins, amino acids, growth hormone, sucrose, and the agar. Can you see here? They have been placed in the proper lab condition, and the plants have been grown here. So they are all growing in the proper nutrient media. And after growing to a limited height, they will be transferred to the pot where we are adding the soil with the nutrients. Okay. Now, what are the applications of the tissue culture method? One by one, you can write this thing in your copy also. Production of large number of plants from a small tissue. And they are all identically genetically similar to their parent. They are called soma clone. And one important application of the tissue culture is that we can recover a healthy plant from a diseased plant. Okay, I'll tell you, like if a plant is infected with a virus, yeah, if a plant is infected with any of the bacterial disease, the full plant is infected, but there will be one part of the plant that is not infected. Can anyone tell me which part of the plant will not be affected? You have learned in 11th standard, I think, meristem. Yes. So the meristem, that is a dividing part. Always the cells in the meristematic cells keep on dividing. So this meristematic cell, they are the one that is present in the apical. Apical matlab apex, or in the axillary part. These meristematic cells will not be affected with this virus or bacteria. So what we will do, we will take the callus, we will take the explant. Okay, we will take the explant from the meristematic part. Other parts are all affected. Other parts are affected with either a virus or bacteria. So what is your question? How you can recover a healthy plant from a diseased plant? This is your question. It's an important question for you. How you can recover a healthy plant from a diseased plant? The whole plant is affected with disease, but still one part of the plant is not affected. That is the actively dividing part, that is called as the meristematic tissue. So what we will do, we will take an explant from the meristematic tissue, then we will transfer it into a nutrient medium, and the callus will be formed, and it will develop into a plant which is free from any of these diseases. Okay, this is a major, very important application of the tissue culture. So recovery of the healthy plants from the diseased plants. And by the meristem culture, since we are using the meristem here, you can call it as a meristem culture. Clear? So the seedless plants can, another application is that the seedless plants can be multiplied. And what is this meristem culture? The meristem of the plants that is infected with the virus will be free from the infection. And this meristem is used as an explant to develop the healthy plants from the diseased plant. I think it's clear for you. That means, again, I'm telling the full plant is infected with any of the microbes, but one part of the plant, that is the actively dividing tissue, which is actively dividing tissue, that is a meristematic tissue, that is not infected with any of these microbes. So we can take the explant from the meristematic part, we can transfer them into the nutrient medium, and from the callus, from the whole plant can be recovered. Okay. This is a major application. And this culture, since we are taking the meristem here, we can call this culture as the meristem culture. Understand, everyone? Now, the next one is another term that you have to be familiar, that is the somatic hybridization. What is somatic hybridization? It's already been discussed. Somatic means any cell other than the reproductive cell. So, here we are taking the two cells, and we know that these cells have the cell wall, and the cell wall is made up of the cellulose. Now, what we have to do? We have to digest this cellulose. Then only the protoplasm of the two will be fused with each other. Okay, and how we can digest a cellulose? It is cellulose, so we are using the enzyme. The name of the enzyme is cellulase. Okay, the name of the enzyme is cellulase. So, cellulase will digest the cell wall, and we are getting a naked protoplasm. And this naked protoplasm contains the nucleus of these two. Okay, the nucleus of these two, and they can be fused with each other. So, they will contain the hybrid variety. So, this is the hybrid protoplasm, and that can be developed into a new plant. Okay, there is an example given here. They have fused, they have tried with a potato and the tomato, and they got a product called the pomat. And what they were expecting here, they were expecting the qualities of both the potato and tomato into that. But unfortunately, all the qualities of them were not be able to preserve in that. So why we want to have such kind of product? What we assume that we have to get the qualities of both potato and the tomato, and they call it as pomato because they have the product of protoplasm of a potato plant and the protoplasm of the tomato plant. Okay, but it's result in the formation of a tomato. Unfortunately, this plant did not have the desired combination of the characters so that it can be used for the commercial purpose. Okay, but they tried with many of it, but this is like they tried very well, but they didn't get the expected result of all the qualities of potato and tomato in the tomato plant. So what is somatic hybridization? Just learn this definition. The process of the fusion of protoplast of the somatic cell of the different species to develop into somatic hybrid, and that process is called as somatic hybridization. I have given the picture here. You can draw this picture in your copy. This is the one plant cell and this is another plant cell, and both of them contain the protoplast, and we know that they contain the cellulose, so we are digesting with pectinase as well as the cellulase enzyme. Okay, and the protoplast, the two protoplasts we are getting, and they are fusing with each other by applying the polyethylene glycol, and the cell has undergone the fusion and the nuclear fusion has taken place, and finally we are getting the somatic hybrid. So this is how we produce the hybrid of the somatic cell. So why it is called as somatic? Because we have taken from a non-reproductive part. So this is one plant cell. We have the digestion of that plant cell wall with the help of cellulase and the pectinase, and we are getting the protoplast, and we are selecting two protoplasts of which having the hybrid qualities and undergoing the cell fusion. The nucleus will fuse, and finally we are getting the somatic hybrids.
Tissue culture is another technology which helps to keep pace with increasing food demand and to provide sufficiently fast and efficient systems for crop improvement. Cellular totipotency. The ability of a single plant cell to divide and differentiate into a mature plant, if placed in the appropriate environment, is called cellular totipotency. Plant tissue culture is invaluable when traditional plant breeding cannot generate plants with desired traits. The culturing or growing isolated protoplasts or cells or tissue or organ on nutrient medium under controlled aseptic conditions to produce complete plant or plant parts is called tissue culture technique. Haberland in the year 1902 was the first to demonstrate the totipotency and introduce plant tissue culture.
So I think it's clear, the video is clear. So Haberland is a man who has recognized the totipotency capacity of the plants, explains via any of the plants. Okay. So these are the main topics, and we have finished this chapter 9, that is strategies in the enhancement of fruit production. I think it's all clear for you. Go through all the videos so that it will be easy for you at the time of your revision and answer the question. So single cell protein, then the tissue culture method, and the biofortification. So these are the three main methods by which we can increase the production also, especially in India where agriculture is in most in demand. And the tissue culture, the totipotency of the plants are more than that of the animal. So we are utilizing this property in the production of more and more amount of the food plants. Okay. So please go through all these topics. I think it's all clear for you. Have a nice day and thank you.